In this installment of the canon, we look at the common misconceptions people have about the Catholic Church. Myth number 1. Catholics pray to statues, images, and relics. People who say Catholics pray to statues and images forget or don't know about the many passages where the Lord commands the making of statues. The Ark of the Covenant shows us this clearly. During the Exodus, when a plague of serpents was sent to punish the Israelites, God told Moses to make a statue of a fiery serpent. The people had to only look at the bronze statue of the fiery serpent and be healed. This shows that statues could be used ritually, not only as religious decorations. Catholics use statues and paintings, among other things, to remember the person or thing depicted. In the same way that it helps to remember one's mother by looking at her photographs, so it helps to recall the example of the saints by looking at pictures of them. What people don't see is that there's a difference between thinking a piece of stone is a god and a person's desire to visually remember Christ and the saints in heaven by making statues in their honor. The making and use of religious statues is thoroughly a biblical practice. Anyone who says otherwise doesn't know his Bible. Let's tackle myth number 2, that Catholics believe things like relics and holy water can perform miracles. Firstly, what is a relic? The Cambridge Dictionary defines a relic as a part of a body or something that belonged to a holy person. What does the Church teach about relics? It doesn't say they contain magical powers. There's nothing in the relics itself, whether it be a bone of the Apostle Peter or holy water from Lourdes, that can magically cure. The Church just says that relics may be the occasion of God's miracles. And in this, the Church follows Scripture. The bones of Elisha brought a dead man to life. In a similar way, some sick men were healed when Peter's shadow passed over them. If these aren't examples of the use of relics, what are? Myth number 3. We hear this one often. Catholics added books to the Bible. It's ironic that as Catholics, we often have to defend this position held by Protestants, when in fact the opposite is the case. Catholics use the traditional full Bible, and Protestants have fewer books because the Protestant reformers removed books from the original canon. There's proof that Jesus quoted from at least 3 of the books that are missing from the today's Protestant Bible, namely the books of Wisdom, Sirach, and Tobit. The history of the biblical canon is complicated, but full consensus was reached in the 4th century when the Council of Local Bishops and the Pope came to broad agreement on the 73-book canon still used by the Catholic Church today. Some disagreements lingered, but the 73-book canon was used for more than 1,000 years, until the Protestants removed the 7 books, as well as parts of a few other books that both Catholics and Orthodox had accepted. This created a canon that no community in the early church had used. Myth number 4. Catholics re-crucified Jesus during Mass. We believe that Jesus and the crucifixion occur outside the boundaries of space and time. And so when Mass is celebrated, the priest is making the sacrifice which has already occurred present on the altar. It isn't the re-crucifixion, but the bloodless reenactment of Jesus' sacrifice on Calvary. Myth number 5. Catholics are led by the Antichrist. The myth that the Pope is the Antichrist has been part of anti-Catholic discussion since the Reformation, when it was needed to justify the Protestant reformers' desire to leave the Catholic Church. Among similar other Protestant positions, the Lutheran Book of Concord states, "The Pope is the real Antichrist, who has raised himself over and set himself against Christ." Accordingly, just as we cannot adore the devil himself as our Lord or God, so we cannot suffer his apostle, the Pope or Antichrist, to govern us as our head or Lord. Many people believe that a Pope claims to be in the place of Christ. However, the Pope does not make such claims. They are there to represent Christ and to shepherd Christ's flock. The Pope does not require worship of himself as God and should always point the faithful to Christ himself through Christ's bride, the Church. The seat of Peter was divinely instituted by our Lord, and the Pope, through apostolic succession, is the Vicar of Christ. Who are we to question our Lord's eternal wisdom and vision for his Church? And to end off, a quote from Venerable Fulton Sheen: "Not 100 in the United States hate the Roman Catholic Church, but millions hate what they mistakenly think the Roman Catholic Church is." And remember, fight the good fight and keep the faith.